United news, but this is not a drill. This is for real. The type of an opportunity like this as United fans to bring about real change that many United fans from day one have been trying to bring about, which is the end of the Glazers at Manchester United. Significant news has been coming in for the last couple of weeks. There's been rumours of investment funds, consortiums, and for me, this is big. If you are not aware of what I'm talking about here, I'm sure many of you are. I tweeted this probably within a few minutes of it coming out. Sir Jim Ratcliffe wants to buy a stake in Manchester United with a view to taking full control if the Glazers welcome new investment. Now, you may not know who Sir Jim Ratcliffe is. He's a billionaire, owns and runs many businesses successfully. Tried to buy Chelsea a couple of months ago, which we'll talk about. But he's effectively a Manchester United fan whose bottom line when trying to buy Chelsea was not about making profits. It was about rebuilding a football club. This is the person, ideally, that many Man United fans would like. Michael Knighton mentioned it in his consortium chat. This is now a reality. This is now an owner that we would like to be given a chance. And look, maybe he wouldn't do very well. Nobody's got every right to say it would work, but it would certainly be a better plan than the Glazers because it's somebody who wants to rebuild the club, not for profit, invest in the club and get it back to where it needs to be. That is what Manchester United fans want. This is now, and if you've been watching the United stand for, God, how long have we been talking about this? Years. Many, many times on many, many shows, people have said, how do we remove the Glazers? And I have said it and we've discussed it. For me, personally, and many of you might agree, I always said, you've got to have a viable owner. Protests, emptying the stadium, online targeting of sponsors, all really effective, and we saw it with the Super League. But to remove the Glazers, I've always felt you've got to have a viable buyer. There is now a viable buyer. This is not nonsense. This is actually quotes coming out from his investment fund that they would like to invest in Manchester United if the opportunity was there and then buy Manchester United. We have an opportunity now. And yes, we can talk about CASEMIRO and Milinkovic-Savic and Ronaldo's future and all that stuff, and we can talk about it in a few minutes' time. But I firmly believe this is what I've been waiting for, and I think it's what a lot of people have been waiting for. And we may have different ideas, but this is the one that I really think is the opportunity to grasp. And if we don't grasp it, then I think we'll forever look back on it and go, that was the opportunity. This is not an investment fund. This is not the Glazers selling it to another set of Glazers. This is somebody who very publicly has run businesses, a massive investor into the F1 Mercedes team, which is very successful as well. This is somebody that is not for profit, who is a fan of the club and the sport and wants to restore it and rebuild it and get it back. And this is somebody that you would hope would come into the club and recruit properly and not have a CEO who helped the Glazers bought the club and everything like that. This is a real opportunity. And I suppose the question is, what can we do as fans? Well, what we need to do here is not think about self-preservation and what's good for our group or this, that, and the other. I will say this is the United stand. Whatever people think about it, it's got a massive reach, a massive, massive reach. Use it, utilize it. I know there's a protest outside the ground for the the game against Liverpool on Monday. Get the details to us. We'll run it for the next 3 days. Manchester United Supporters Trust, they need to get involved in this. Every group needs to unify and utilise everybody we can. Because there's only going to be 75,000 fans at the ground on Monday night. There's millions of fans worldwide. How do you utilise that? Because the Glazers don't have to sell. They don't have to sell. They can sit there, ride it out. And basically what Sir Jim Ratcliffe is saying is, look, if there's an opportunity there to invest and then long-term take over the club, we're in. What if the Glazers say there's not an opportunity, we don't want to sell? We as fans now have a viable buyer. That's like the firing whistle at the start of the race. It's time to run. And we've got to bloody run and we've got to win this race. And as fans, we've got to basically show the Glazers, get out now and take this. There is an opportunity for you to go. Now your time is up. Not in 10 years because you think you can get the share price up. The time to go is now. The buyer is there. And we as a fan base have got to push that. Unified, push it. So look, We've said it before, I'll say it again. The United Stand community, as big as it is there. If you've got protests or you've got plans, you've got anything in place, let's do it. Let's get it done. And then when it's done, we can all fall out again and start arguing about who the captain should be and who should play up front and all the petty things that we don't like each other for, apparently. That can all come back. I don't give a shit about Casemiro, Frankie de Jong, Milinkovic-Savic, João Felix. There is no signing that is going to make me go, well done Murta, well done Joel Glazer, well done Richard Arnold. Your time's up, lads. You're gone. I don't care if you go and buy Mbappe. It's not going to work. We've got to. This is not one summer now. We're talking about the last 17 years. We're talking about £500 million of debt. We're talking about dividends going out the club every bloody year. We're talking about Man City and Liverpool and Chelsea and even Arsenal and Spurs getting further and further away from us. This club is. We're talking about Old Trafford and it falling into disrepair. Don't fall for the trap. Don't fall into the Casemiro hype. Now is the time. There is a viable owner for this football club. Let's not miss this train. Let's not look back on this and go, we had an opportunity and we all got excited and hyped about Casemiro. The time is now. There is a viable buyer there. There is probably other viable buyers as well. We've got to get the Glazers out, and the way to do that, and I'm not saying empty the ground on Monday. I'm not saying that. But we've got to start doing things now, collectively, to remove the Glazers and show them that your time is up. It's time to go. Your time is up. And we have a viable option there. Of course, another path could be, and I hope the Glazers take this, without games getting cancelled and protests, you take the offer of what Sir Jim Ratcliffe basically wants. Apparently, Manchester United, the Glazers, are willing to give up a small percentage ownership in the club. Now, if they say Sir Jim Ratcliffe can buy that with a view to buying the club over the next couple of years, that's a starter for 10. We get a bit of stability. There's even talk that Sir Jim Ratcliffe would take a small investment in the club, invest in the club even as a small investor, and then as long as there's a long-term view that he gets ownership of the club. The time is now. The time is now. Insightful Twitter live with Phil De Bruyne today on this sale subject. Like you said, Mark, worse before better. Will Eric Ten Hag and Ronnie last until then, says Kevin. Glazers out, says CY. Would he know how to rebuild Manchester United successfully, says Nathan. Mate, he's a very, very successful billionaire who would just recruit the best CEO in the world, the best director of footballer in the world, the best players in the world. That's what you need. So Jim is the dream. Surely the Glazers would accept the additional investment and knowledgeable football voice. Confident this will happen, says Sambo. I don't want to be confident this is going to happen. I want us to make it happen as a fan base. I don't want to see divisions between the Man United Supporters Trust, the Red Army, the 58, United Stand, whatever these groups are. It has to be together, because ultimately, whatever the problems are, they can all come back when the club's sorted. This is a bit like, it's 10 times the Super League. It's an opportunity for everybody to come together and get the change that we want. His connection with Mercedes F1 team tells you the story is ready for change and ready to rebuild and win like he has with them. The most dominant 7 years in the sport. I'm all for it, says Barry. I say this now, if we continue to play rubbish football, don't see what difference Ratcliffe will do. I want to be back, but this being stuffed every week kills me. Let's hope Ratcliffe is serious, says Ray. And yes, says Crash Illustration. Well, let's not celebrate a goal before it's over the line. But look, just to give you a little bit more comments, this is a spokesman for Ineos billionaire confirmed that Ratcliffe would welcome the chance to talk to the club's American owners. If the club is up for sale, Jim is definitely a potential buyer, the spokesman said, and that's via the Times. Matt Dickinson is a very good journalist. So, for me, this is the dream. This is a viable option. For anybody who's been watching the United Stand for a while, you'll know every time I get asked about how we get the Glazers out, I've always said we need a viable buyer. And then you do everything you need to do, because you've got your viable owner, and now we know he wants to buy the club. We've got to force the Glazers to sell. And I don't mean by illegal means. I mean by, very, very obvious public portrayal displays of dissatisfaction at their ownership. It's like somebody just said there, things may need to get worse to get better. But I'm very much in the mindset of short-term pain for long-term gain now. We've got to get them out. And the only way we'll get them out is if people stop arguing amongst themselves, which is what we've been talking about for the last few days, to be fair. I wonder why. Because as I said when the consortium of Michael Knighton came out, What did I say that night? I said, I'm aware of 2 or 3 other viable options to buy Manchester United, and now they're all starting to come out. You've got the New York Investment Fund, you've now got Sir Jim Ratcliffe, which is another one, and there's actually another one out there as well. So there's a lot of people interested in Manchester United, and even that Elon Musk tweet this morning was a joke, but it's actually, it's good. It's bringing people out going, well, I'd buy Man United. Oh, I'd buy Man United. Man United's for sale. I'll buy Man United. We have to keep that momentum going. There's no point in going, oh, Sir Jim wants to buy us, and then we all turn up to the match and, you know, watching the match on Monday night and everything's normal. We've got to build this momentum, and collectively our voice is much bigger. So come on, let's do it. Yeah, so that was well. This is a quote I wanted to bring you. This was from when he tried to buy Chelsea. So this is just a glimpse of what Sir Jim Ratcliffe's all about. He said, "We are the only British bid. Our motives are simple, to try and create a very fine club in London. We have no profit motive because we make our money in other ways." That was Sir Jim Ratcliffe himself on his Chelsea bid earlier this year. And as I've said there, he just wants to build a football club. Now, he's actually always been a Manchester United fan. So the fact that he was trying to buy Chelsea just shows a passion to buy a football club. And as it says there, it's not for profit. So, you know, he easily could have been the owner of Chelsea. Now, the only reason he didn't buy Chelsea was because the valuation, and I think it was his brother who said this, there was a valuation gap in what Chelsea valued it at and what he thought it was. And effectively, their issue was that they would have to build a new stadium. And they were like, well, it could take bloody years to build a stadium and none of them are getting any younger. So effectively, it wasn't quite the right deal for them. But Manchester United is the club that he supports. Mark, as I've said before, United fans on their own are dropped together. We are an ocean. This is our way to remove the Glazers, says Andy Cheetham. Well, now's the time where you've got to be very careful as well. Because what I don't want to see, and I don't think what anybody wants to see, is somebody on Twitter going, the time is now, everybody empty Old Trafford. That can't be done because somebody on Twitter does it, and it certainly can't be done because I say it. We know how this works. It ends up irritating people, and it ends up causing division, divide and conquer. Everything we do now has to be done with trust. Everybody has to agree with it. Everybody has to be on board with it, because if everybody's on board with it, everybody shares it and everybody's happy. So it's going to be a very, very hard job, but as I said, our ears are open, our doors are open, and it's there to be used. But we need unification. We need everybody pulling together, and everybody needs to drop their agendas and drop their hate and drop their dislike and just go, let's not look back on this in 6 months and like we did after the Super League and go, we blew it. Because we blew it. After the Super League, we blew it. We got a game cancelled. We got the Glazers on their heels. They were shitting themselves. They did a fan forum Zoom call, and it all fell apart. We can't let this drop. We've got a viable buyer there that wants to buy us. We've got to get the Glazers out, and we've got to work on how we do that. Hi Mark, would a takeover take long to affect this transfer window? Says Smith. Absolutely not. I mean, we're not selling it tomorrow and then spend buying players in the next 10 days. You've got to think long term. This season's a write-off. I think most people agree with that. You've got to think long term. If it takes all of this season to get the Glazers out and then we start again next summer, it's much better than 10 more years of the Glazers, isn't it? So, they've messed this summer up. It's as simple as that. The thing I like is United aren't even for sale yet officially. I'm excited to see who jumps on the bandwagon and puts pressure on the Glazers to sell, says Barry. And also, let's only focus 110% on social media pressure. That's how we stopped that stupid Super League, says Shahin. Welcome to the Members Club, Chris. And I think Jeff Bezos could be interested too. # United Prime, says Ditus. Just to play devil's advocate, how do we know it's not all talk just to get the fans to help him get the club so he can become another Glazer type owner, says Corbs? Because that's not the sort of person he is. If you do, this is why a lot of people have always wanted Sir Jim Ratcliffe, because he's not like that. Get it done, says Mojo. I don't care if people want Ronaldo out or not, De Gea out or not. Stick together and get them out. Competent club would automatically do the best for the club, says Manmit. United we stand. Jim in, says Sakin. It's a massive opportunity and it needs to be grasped. I think everybody would understand that. Just a few more quotes from the Times article as well. The spokesman said that fresh investment into the club could be used to help upgrade infrastructure, including the Old Trafford Stadium, which is in need of a major overhaul and modernisation. This is not about the money that has been spent or not been spent. Jim is looking at what can be done now and knowing how important the club is to the city. It feels like the time is right for a reset. Look, all the right words being spoken. the time is now. I think this, I think it's such a unique position because you've actually got spokesman for Sir Jim Ratcliffe saying he will buy the club if it's for sale. A very, very amazing story from Matt Dickinson in the Times, because it's an amazing story, because we've heard people saying today that the club's up for sale and the Glazers want out and there's a lot of people looking to buy, which I'm going to comment on in a minute, because it's as important as it is. This is so significant. We've actually got somebody publicly saying they'll buy the club, and they're the owner that most fans would like to give a chance to. And I say give a chance to because the grass ain't always greener. You've got to go into it eyes open. I'm very confident that Sir Jim Ratcliffe and his business would be very good owners of Manchester United. Doesn't mean we're going to win the league again. Doesn't mean we're going to buy Mbappe, but we'll be better run than we have been under the Glazers, because it's a football club again and not a brand. It's not a business. It's very, very obvious to many people, but the contrast between someone like Sir Jim Ratcliffe buying Manchester United and the Glazers is the Glazers bought us on debt. They kept us in debt. They've shaved off about between £1 and £2 billion in their time on debt repayments, etc. They've taken dividends out. They've bled this club dry. If someone like Sir Jim Ratcliffe comes in, the money won't be going out. It's not for profit. So all the money we generate, there's no debt repayments anymore. There's no dividends anymore. All that money goes back into the club. Now, if you've got a crap director of football like we have now, yet you waste the money like we have over the last 10 years. But ultimately, he'd probably sack them and get somebody else in, because it's all about the club. Whereas the Glazers is all about their wealth. It's a massive contrast. So if you're sat there struggling tonight thinking, I don't know what I can do, you can do a lot of things. You can do a lot of things, and we've got to keep the momentum. I mean, whether Glazers out on Twitter really hits home, I don't know. Don't buy a fucking shirt. Don't buy any merchandise. Don't boycott sponsors. These are the sort of things that you do now for the next month, and it really hits home. Pull that share price down. Don't buy a shirt with the name on it, whether it's Ronaldo or not. Don't go into the superstore. Just believe, we've got a viable buyer. We've got someone who wants to buy that club. Pull the club down. Pull it down. And I know it's not nice, but it's only an idea, and there's probably plenty of others. But look, people going into the ground on Monday night or not doesn't matter. Most of them are season ticket holders and they've already spent the money. But if you're thinking about spending money on Manchester United at the moment, or a Man United sponsor, the time is now. There's protests that can be done, but what we need to do is unite everybody and make everybody feel part of it. If people are protesting on Monday night, which they will do, and we'll get the videos of it and we put it on Twitter and everyone retweets it and goes, that's great. Yeah, you've retweeted other fans at the ground protesting, but how can you protest? And this is where a coordinated plan to get the Glazers to sell. That's all it is. It's something very, very simple. And we need to do it. Everybody needs to do it. The Glazers need to realise that they can't ride this out. They absolutely cannot ride this out. And then they will sell, and now we've got a viable buyer. And that's what we've just got to work on. And Sir Jim Ratcliffe in and Glazers out on Twitter, I know it's great, but we've got to make it very, very clear to the Glazers that we want them to go. And what we've also got to do is we've got to get to a point very, very quickly where the Glazers sort of damage limitations say we're selling. So we've got to move to this very, very, very quickly. And the only way to do that is together. And if someone contacts me tomorrow and says, look, this is a plan to use the social media fans, can you put it out there? We'll do it. Let's do it. Let's do it properly, because you know what? I've never hated the Glazers. I don't hate Richard Arnold or Ed Woodward or anyone else. But what I would say is, you've had enough time. You've never changed. You're never going to change, and you're never going to be good for Man United. So it's time to go. It's not a hate campaign. I don't want a hate campaign. Nobody wants a hate campaign. It's just time to go. Go, turn your back, go away, and never come back, and we'll move on. And that's all we want. That's all we want. Tweeting the club Glazers out might not be effective, but telling the sponsors on Twitter you won't get their products because they're associated in the Glazers will work, says Skin. Yeah, look, TeamViewer want out already. They want out already. Mark, we need you to be reaching out to all of the other communities as well. A public joint effort to organise from the largest United creators would it would be massive, says James Manning. Mate, I don't need to reach out to anybody because a lot of these people block me and stuff from the start. So look, you can reach out to them. The United Stand community is there to be used, and it's massive. Use it. If you're going to do your protest, give us the details, we put it out there. If you're going to do a campaign online, give us the details, we push it out there. I and everybody involved in this community wants change. We've got a viable buyer now. Let's push it. Let's push it. Because I tell you what, I'm not going to be the one in a month's time going, I didn't try. I'm not going to do that. And I tell you what, I'm not going to be the one on Saturday when we sign CASEMIRO going, yeah, everything's fine. No, fuck that. I've done that for Di Maria. I've done it for bloody Pogba. I've done it for Ronaldo. We've had loads of these signings before, and it's just a little blip of happiness on a train of misery. We've got to push this now. I'm not impressed by whatever transfer the Glazers are going to try and do. Because I tell you what, watch the response of the Glazers now. They're going to SHIT themselves. They're going to think, bloody hell, we're in big trouble. How do we get out of this? Get the checkbook out like we have done in the past. Buy anybody you can. João Felix, Casemiro, Kuna, everybody. Milinkovic-Savic. Go and buy 5 players now in the last 2 weeks and show we mean business. We're going to try now. We're going to try now. Next summer we'll get the money back. Yeah, screw that. No, you've had 17 years. Forget it. I'm not going to be here going, ooh, it's Casemiro, it's João Felix, because it's all nonsense. It's all spin. Now we've got to make this change now. We've got to make this change. And what I would say to the club is as well, don't start now. You've had opportunities. I mean, I've only been doing the United Stand for 7 years, but loads of people will testify to this. They've had loads of opportunities to speak to fans, do interviews, integrate, show they care. You know, you've had your chance. It's time to go now. You've been arrogant. Ed Woodward was the same. Richard Arnold was only caught out in a pub because he didn't want people turning up to his house. You know, they've had their chance. They've been arrogant. They don't know what they're doing. Time to go. Time to go. I haven't lined the Glazers' pocket for years. We all need to take back our beautiful club, says James. Mark, I've sent you an email with a plan which could involve all the Trident Club United, says Dante. I like the neon kit though, but after that whipping I would have PDST every time I see it, says Jar. Tweeting, I've done that one from Skin. Mark, we need you to be, I've done that one as well. So yeah, look, if you're tuning in a little bit late, there's a lot to get through tonight, but Twitter's popping off. I mean, Ren says empty Old Trafford this week. I don't know. I mean, look, I'm not going to tell people to empty Old Trafford simply because we've got to tread carefully. You'll get people from all over the world who've never been to Old Trafford and all over the UK who aren't going to the Old Trafford saying empty Old Trafford. But you haven't bought a season ticket and you might not be travelling from Ireland to watch it and all this, that and the other. The right of a person to go into Old Trafford is their right. You can't force people to empty Old Trafford when they have a season ticket and it's their choice. This is where you've got to be very careful about how you run this. We cannot divide and conquer our own fan base. If people want to go into the ground and watch the match, that is their choice. If they don't want to, if they want to stand outside an empty Old Trafford, that is their choice. You can't push something like that with less than a week's notice because you'll end up pissing people off. So we've got to push this in the correct way, in a unified way. There is a protest that is already planned. Empty Old Trafford, empty 75,000 people. Well, Liverpool fans are going to go in. So, you know, that's not going to work for a start. Also, there's already a protest. There's already a protest outside Old Trafford before the game, starting at 5:30 at the toll gates and goes down to there. So, be part of that protest. Instead of there being 2,000 people, there might be 20,000 people there. TV, everybody, the Glazers see it. It's not about let's get the Glazers to sell United on Monday night because Old Trafford's quite empty. It's about consistency. Because you know what's going to happen before Monday night? We're probably going to sign a player. And Glazers out will stop on Twitter because people will be going, oh, actually, I quite like Casemiro. It's a good deal. So, you know, it's not a sprint. It's not a marathon. It's a sprint. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. Respect is really important in this. Respect is very important. Respect your fellow fan and the decisions they want to make, because that way we can work together. Telling people what to do never works. We've got to work together on this. And, you know, everybody needs to be... The way the Super League does... I can never really reveal a lot of the conversations that went on because those people would be pissed off if I did it. But the way the Super League was conducted was superb. So many people got in contact with the United stand. You know, money was funded towards all sorts of things. It worked really well, and nobody wanted the whole public we work together and anything like that, because it was all for the greater good. And that's what we need again. And then we can go back to falling out about who the captain should be. Should fans be able to buy small amounts of shares as part of and bid? Would be symbolic gestures to support and free up Jim's funds, says Ryan. Mark, these 2 weeks are absolutely massive. Glazers' cash cow is crumbling before them. The Ronaldo interview could be the final nail, says Gabrielle. Stop following MUTV and all the social media's pages might help, says Mike Jones. Graham Barber, how about a signed petition by United fans agreeing to cause hell for any sponsors associated with United, sell or lose your income, says Graham Barber. It's sickening to see what's happened at your club. Love you, Mark, and I hope this gets sorted for the sake of football, says Louis Garrett. It's such a massive opportunity, and it's one that, you know, I don't necessarily have the answers for, and I don't think you do. But brains need to be going into action tonight as to how you keep everybody together and do something. And for me, the big thing is you've got to utilise the worldwide fan base. There'll only be 75,000 people at Old Trafford. That's a lot of people, but there's millions and millions of United fans. And let's not forget, who did the Glazers want to shit on when the Super League happened? They were shitting on the hardcore fans. They were shitting on the match-going fans. They didn't care about them anymore. They cared about the global fan base. They wanted to take Man United to play Liverpool in New York and Sydney and Delhi. They didn't care about playing in Old Trafford. They knew the value in money was the worldwide fan base. That is where the money comes in. You know, I live in the UK. What does the Manchester United UK fan base make for the club compared to the worldwide fan base? We've got to use it. I think for too long, there's been a bit of, I don't know, maybe it's an arrogance or an ignorance towards the worldwide fan base, which makes up probably over 90% of our fan base. It's like, well, what do they know? They don't live in the UK. And that I think that comes from media. I think it comes from, you know, I think it's there. I think we all know it's there. But at times like this, and in the future, we've got to utilise the entire fan base because it's huge. It's absolutely huge. And if you can do it, then, oh my God, like if you want to get a message to a sponsor or the club or anything like that, and you've got millions of fans on board, it's massive. It's absolutely massive. So have we got the people who can do that? Well, if we haven't, we need to. You know, strategically, there has to be a combined and unified approach here. And ultimately, we will all benefit. We will all benefit as individual United fans and collectively if we get the Glazers out. I mean, imagine waking up in the morning and knowing that your club's not in debt, that your owners aren't bleeding you dry, milking you like a cash cow, and taking dividends out of the club, employing complete and utter prats as CEOs. Imagine waking up and going, my club's owned by somebody that wants us to be successful on the pitch. My club's owned by somebody that understands the game and will appoint a very good CEO and a very good director of football and structure. This is what we're fighting for now. If you know, this is not. And look, I'm a Man United fan because my granddad loved the Busby Babes. So that's 2 generations. In 2 generations' time, my daughter and son, they're Man United fans. Their kids will be Man United fans. We're creating a future for them now. Do you want your future generations and family members and friends to be in the situation we are with the Glazers in charge? It's not just for us. It's the future. This is a massive opportunity and we have to use it. And as I say, the door is open. This community is massive. You've built this community. It's massive. And I know full well, if we start saying, this is happening, do it, you'll do it. So, look, as I said, there's a lot of groups out there. Let's get that message out there. You know, stop falling out about fucking captains of United and whether Ronaldo should be sold. It's much bigger than this. And the big warning is, don't be bloody convinced by Milinkovic-Savic or Casemiro signing in the next 2 days. Because that's let's be honest, this is a war now. And their artillery is, oh look, we've just bought you Casemiro and Milinkovic-Savic, buy the shirts and back the Glazers. Well, we've got to be wary of that now and go, yeah, I've seen it all before, shut up, get out. It's on, isn't it? Let's see what happens. This time feels different. They're panic buying next week, which will be over 100 million, likely isn't going to be enough. It's over for them now, says Sean Turner. I wish Sir Alex could speak out against the Glazers. He's seen the damage they've done to this club and it's time to speak out. Like you say, everyone has to come together, says Victor. Look, I think Sir Alex Ferguson is beyond reproach. He's an old man. He's retired. He's a legend. Effectively, he's on the board paid by the Glazers. Now, imagine that. Imagine if Sir Alex Ferguson went, I ain't on the board anymore. I'm walking away. I want Sir Jim Ratcliffe to be in charge of this football club. I don't know how easy that is to do, but that's goodbye Glazers. It's over. So, look, you probably make a good point. That's not to say that Sir Alex Ferguson should do it. It's the same as saying empty Old Trafford. You can't tell somebody what to do. Everybody's got to do what they want to do. But yeah, something like that would be powerful. Players are under contract, etc. I don't know whether board members are under contract. Managers, when they're sacked, can't talk about the club for 12 months. Maybe if you're paid and you're on the board or you're an ambassador, you can't do anything like that. Maybe it's written in your contract. Maybe you can't do that. I don't know. Finally, some light at the end of the tunnel. Let's keep the pressure on, says Canadian Reds. Yeah, you might want to check my tweet from last night. I actually said that, light at the end of the tunnel. I tell you what as well, there is another option. I don't know whether it'll hit public. I think it probably will. There is another option as well. I mean, the Sir Jim Ratcliffe one is the popularist one, quite simply because, as he said there, he's not about profit. But there is another option coming up as well. Victor says he'd like to see Sir Alex come out as well. Agree with you, Mark. I'm from India. Let's cut Glazers' legs off sponsor gains by boycotting them and say sponsors. Says Pran. Mark, it would be better seen by the world on TV if you fill Old Trafford and everyone was holding a Glazers out sign. Yeah, David. I mean, that... And this is the great thing. Nobody's got the divine right to lead us on this. This is what I mean about unification. Unification is not one person or one group leading everybody else. Unification is everybody having a voice and part of this. And that's a great idea straight away. Why empty Old Trafford? Why not? And we'll put money into this. The United Stand will put money up for this. No problem at all. Let's print out 80,000. Well, that'd be too many. Actually, it's always better after a minute. 80,000 things that every fan in the ground can hold up. And they hold it up all game. Banners, the lot, whatever. You don't have to miss the game. You can just do that. There's so many things that can be done. And, the time is now. Mark, we've become the Newcastle United full circle back to 1989. Bottom half the table, nice and floating around. So, Stephen. Mark, you're the reason the Glazers are still here. Why did your team went on tour? You're funding them. But, oh, shut up, Aman. You're gone. I mean, that's the thing. You will get idiots like Aman who will try and derail any unification because they're probably not United fans, let's be honest. They're probably bitter, sad people who just want to cause trouble. I mean, how on earth can... It's not even worth talking about. It makes no sense. Sky talking about is going back in for Anthony. Says, hey, but this is what's going to happen. We'll go back in for Anthony. We'll sign CASEMIRO, and everyone will go, oh, maybe I don't want Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Like, it's gonna. This is it. Divide and conquer. This club is suddenly going to find the money to go and buy players. There was a rumour that we'd offered €120 million for João Felix today. They've clearly suddenly released funds, haven't they? They've clearly suddenly shit themselves. The Glazers are now trying to stay in post for the next 10 years. And they're suddenly going to go, well, let's spend 200-300 million now because it will keep us in roll for the next 10 years, which we'll make back in dividends anyway. Now, the time is now. And it's going to be really difficult. And I can sit here and say the time is now, let's unify the fan base. But I don't know whether it's going to work. They might sign 2 superstar players in the next few days and everyone will go, oh, you know what? Let's just get behind the manager and see what happens. And then it's gone. The opportunity's gone. But right here, right now, you've got this headline, which is absolutely spot on. You've got a viable owner who wants to buy the club. What are you going to do about it? Is a new signing going to make you go, oh, he's good? And I know these people on social media will do it. They are United fans, but the minute you go and buy a CASEMIRO or a João Felix, they'll go, oh, you know what, though? I like those players. I like Ten Hag. Let's get behind the team and, let's see what happens. We might be all right now in a couple of years. We won't be all right in a couple of years because the Glazers are the Glazers. The time is now. I'm not going to be impressed by a new signing. It's going to be hard, but I'm going to have to push it because I've said I'm going to push it. And everyone else needs to make that choice for themselves. Look, we've got 36,000 people watching here. That's not even half of Old Trafford. But if everybody here says it to everybody else, even if they don't like the United stand, we can really start to push something here. And also share the video. Click that share button. Start right now. Share the video. We're talking about the future of Manchester United and the opportunity that we have. Let's do it. What are the steps in this process? Please break down what this looks like in the media, says Andrew Herbert. We shouldn't get the game cancelled on Monday. It is a way to show the protest globally. It'll be a powerful message if the fan holds the sign, says O. And he also owns Nice in France. Could become a feeder club for us to send youngsters on loan like we used to with Anderlecht. Really hope this isn't another false dawn. I agree with you, Aram. I hope it's not a false dawn, but it will be a false dawn because what Aram thinks, what I think, what a few of you think, we can't speak for millions of Man United fans, and we can't tell millions of United fans what to think. All I can say is that for me, this is all I ever wanted, a viable option to buy the club. All the protests, all the Glazers out movements will never work. I'd always said that they will never work. The Super League, everything like that, they'll never work because we haven't got the money to buy the club. What we always needed was someone who can buy the club that we'd be happy to give a go. We've now got it. Well, now it's when the fan base can get that. You know, it's like a monarchy, isn't it? In the olden days, somebody's the king or the queen. You don't like them. Oh, they've got a brother who could have been they've got royal blood. We like them. They're nicer. Oost them and get them in. We've actually got somebody who can come in and take over this club with billions of pounds. We've got to grab this opportunity. And they're saying that they want to buy the club. You've got to grab it. Mark, would you get violated? Dan, yeah, you're gone as well. You know what happens? You have like 36,000 people watching about something really important, and then some sad twat thinks I'm going to spend a fiver to speak total nonsense in the hope that people think I'm funny. Mark, you're completely right. Thank you for talking sense and rallying the troops. We all need to do our bit, says Jonathan. Love the shirt, Mark. Hopefully the Glazers get on their high horses and gallop away, says Chaz. Look, if I was the Glazers right now, there's a billionaire who will buy the club and give you a fair price. That's a great point. If you're the Glazers right now, what are you hanging on for? Greed. The same thing that they've been here all along. They've got no interest in this football club. I said this before. If I was the owner of Man United for the last 10 years, even if I loved the club, which I do, if I'd been the owner of Man United for the last 10 years, I'd sell it today to Sir Jim Ratcliffe. I'd say, I've tried, I've made mistakes. This club has fallen ridiculously. I love this club. I've made a mistake. I've tried my best. I've failed. You have a go. Because all I want is this club to be successful. And you're going to give me my money back anyway. But it's not about the money. So the Glazers may not sell. The Glazers may not sell because they know over the next 10 years there might be a huge TV deal coming. The Super League might be coming. And they'll be going, look, the club's worth 5 billion now. But in 10 years, no matter what we do, we'll always be in the Super League. It'll be worth 20 billion. And that's the problem. I don't think they're going to give this club up because they know that this club's going to keep going up and up in value. So they're going to dig their heels in and they're going to stay here clinging on. And we've got to pull them out. The right thing to do would be for them to go, we've tried, we have failed, we'll watch on the telly now, we're going to get our money and walk. And they're going to make a huge profit anyway. But they won't do that because they've not got the best interest of the fans or the club at all. I think they're going to be a very, very hard people to remove from the football club. And that is why the fans have to be part of it. The Glazy family conducted first round of talks via legal representatives on Tuesday. Initial discussion was regarding a full sale and not minority, says Rohit. Good. Shared the video, Mark, onto my socials, doing what I can. We finally got a bit of momentum, got to keep it going. Glazers out, Sir Jim Ratcliffe in, says Rob. You're right, every time we get linked to a player, my Twitter feed gets filled with compilation videos of these players. Fans are filled with hope, but we need to look at the bigger picture, says Sharath Kamath Fitness. Mate, I was tweeting today about CASEMIRO. I said at the start, I like CASEMIRO, but this is pure desperation. We're going to double his wages to about 400 grand a week. We're going to pay Real Madrid 65 million. What a shit deal. I had people in the comments going, you're negative. You're part of the problem. I'm not negative. I know what's going on. We've got an opportunity to get the Glazers out, and you are being fucking, you're drinking the spiked drink. You're falling for it. You're being drugged, basically. they're conning you. They're buying your short-term support to allow them to keep the club by doing stupid things. And you know what? I read today that apparently CASEMIRO would be the 4th best paid player in the Premier League. Like, he'd be on more money than Mo Salah. Like, spending money is not a problem. Spending money is actually the opposite of what the Glazers want to do. But they do it when they're desperate. Support the team and not the business. Cheer the players without the merchandise. Your football team is not a brand, it's a lifelong relationship, says Swiss Tony. Hey Mark, apparently someone from the class of 92 has been advising Sir Jim. Does that worry you? I think it may not be a bad thing for once, says Fame. Yasin. Look, would I rather keep the Glazers or would I rather have Sir Jim Ratcliffe being advised by Gary Neville? Of course I'd rather keep the Glazers. No, I'm joking. Look, if someone from the class of 92 is advising Sir Jim Ratcliffe, it's going to be Gary Neville because he's a businessman. Do I agree with a lot of what Gary Neville says? No. Would I let him anywhere near Man United to have any say on signings or anything like that? No. This is a guy that calls people bullies for saying that Harry Maguire shouldn't be captain, and then a few weeks later he's demanding Cristiano Ronaldo does an interview to explain what the problem is. It's complete contradiction. So no, I don't want Gary Neville to be anything to do with Manchester United personally, because I don't like the way he thought Ollie was the answer. I don't like that bloody amber system where he thinks Harry Maguire's an amber signing and Fellaini and Mata and Pogba and Lindelof, who actually won things with United, are red signings. I don't trust his opinion on football, and look at what he did with Valencia. But I do trust Gary Neville on his love for Manchester United, and I certainly know that Gary Neville wouldn't put the club into debt. So, look, on a personal note, I don't want Gary Neville to be involved in the football side of things at United because I think his opinion's a bit dodgy. But of course I want Gary Neville to be working with Sir Jim Ratcliffe instead of the Glazers. So, again, it's a great point because I'd be a hypocrite because I don't want to fall out with people because they want Harry Maguire to be captain or they want Ronaldo to go, even though I disagree with those two things. I said it right at the start of the video. I don't care whether Gary Neville wants Harry Maguire to be captain. I don't care whether Gary Neville wants Ronaldo to be sold, because those are things that we all fall out about. And what we're talking about is we need to be unified. And Gary Neville wants Manchester United to be great. And Gary Neville doesn't want United in debt. And Gary Neville doesn't want dividends coming out of the club. So if Gary Neville is advising Sir Jim Ratcliffe, this is great, because we might disagree on a lot of things to do with football, but we completely agree about what the path should be for Manchester United. And at the end of the day, as long as the club's in the right hands, all those footballing arguments will come back and be resolved, but we won't be in debt and we won't have dividends, and the passion will be to be successful on the pitch. Imagine having someone who loves the club like us owning it. We could have that. We would have, if the Glazers actually cared, they'd sell up, says Sean Turner. I'll be happy with any signings they get in, but I'll still be Glazers out. I let them spend whatever they want on wages. The end is near, says Wayne Finnegan. What if fans held up a huge banner, something anti-sponsors like no to Adidas? This would make all media nationally and internationally, says Fixo. Look, when it comes to sponsors, I've said before, they will get itchy feet if we start to target them. But I actually think the best thing to do is to appeal to the sponsors. You know, there must be a conversation that Sir Jim Ratcliffe can have with an Adidas and say, look, I'm trying to buy this football club. When I buy this football club, people are going to buy a lot more shirts. We're going to be more successful on the pitch. You need to help me put pressure on the Glazers to sell. That's what the sponsors need to do. I said this 2 nights ago. The sponsors don't necessarily need to be targeted. They can be, but actually we need them on board. We need the Glazers. We need the sponsors to be going to the Glazers and saying, you know, TeamViewer and Adidas, they don't owe the Glazers anything. They're paying. You know, if you think about the simplest example is last night, Boohoo Man was sponsoring the show. Boohoo Man don't love United stands. They they're working with the United stand because they like what we do, and you know they want to give you a discount and they want you to buy their products. That's how it works. That's how sponsorship works. If somebody wants to buy United, goes to Adidas and says, we want to work with you to get the club out of the hands of the Glazers, then Adidas should do it. Why would they be loyal to the Glazers? They'll be loyal to a contract. The problem is what's in that contract. When you sign a contract with Manchester United as Adidas or TeamViewer or anybody else or Chevrolet or whoever, Does it say in that contract you cannot, under any circumstances, promote or side with any attempt to oust the Glazers? Maybe that's in the contract, in which case there's only one way to target sponsors, isn't it? But they'll have break clauses the other way. Mark, send a message to Sir Jim, says Gita. I think we're sending a message to Sir Jim. Sky Sports tweeted that apparently United bid 120 million for João Felix, in which was declined. Do you reckon it's true or not? Love your streams, Mark, says LPR. Well, it's a great point. You know what I say to that? I mean, apparently we have bid for João Felix. Apparently we're going to bid for Caicedo. Apparently we're going to bid big for CASEMIRO. Apparently we're backing for Milinkovic-Savic. You know what I say to all those things? I don't care. I don't care. I don't care if you buy all four of them. I don't care. Like, if they all made their debut on Monday night, there should still be protests, banners, the lot. It's not their fault, but their life will be better when the Glazers are gone, and so will everybody else's. When they're out of our club, it'll be better. You cannot be blinkered by what they've done for the last 10 years. They've done this so many times. You know, you might think, oh, we've never had Casemiro before. We've had Paul Pogba. Oh, we've never had a João Felix before. We've had Zlatan. We've had Ronaldo. We've had Depay. We've had Di Maria. We've seen it all before. We've done it all before. We had world-class Varane last summer. Sancho. We've done this for years. Don't fall for it anymore. They will throw money to try and survive. The Glazers want to survive forever because the club's going to become more and more valuable. They're going to still take their dividends. I mean, remember, the Glazers had a fan forum not that long ago where they spoke to United fans and said, yeah, we'll work on the share price. Yeah, we'll work on the stadium, but we're not negotiating on the dividends because dividends is part of business and that's what happens. No other Premier League club does it. But they still sat there in a fan forum and went, we're not negotiating about dividends. Dividends are what happens in business. Let's keep this up. The Parasites have got to go, says MUFC. Welcome to Members Club MUFC. Apparently we're back in for Anthony again, according to Slow Sports News. We have to keep the pressure on, says Scott. And why do you think Man United valuation will increase to 20 billion playing this boring and lifeless brand of football, says Pratish? The reason Man United's value will go up to 20 billion in the next few years is because at some point there will be a Super League. At some point there'll be a massive TV deal. At some point, money's just going to go up and up and up. And Man United will always be there because we've got a huge fan base. The value of Man United will keep going up and up. And we won't always be crap. Like, we'll get back to the days where we think it's crap, but we're still, finishing fourth. That's money. Champions League. Like, fourth place is shit. But for the Glazers, it's brilliant. We're in the Champions League. Look at us sponsors, That's all they want. I paid 30k for my season ticket to watch this set of donuts. I will do whatever's needed, says Is It Nanny. In 2 weeks, Ronaldo announces he's in the consortium, the scenes with Sir Jim and Ronaldo running the club, says Arjun. I doubt it, but... Spot on Mark says, Ols, you have the biggest voice platform. How do we unite and implement these ideas? Would you lead this battle? You have more pull than you think, says Olis. I'm not leading the battle because I think that would be a negative thing. I don't think I can, and I would never do it anyway because I am not that person despite what people think. I am not arrogant. I am not a voice for the fans, and I've always said that. It's not my fault that this community started off with 10 people watching it and grew to what it is over 7 years. It's amazing. It's an amazing community. It's a powerful community, but I'm not the voice for the fans. I don't want to be, and I will do anything to help people unify this fan base and get everybody together. I wish I was on TalkSport tonight. I wish I was doing my TalkSport show tonight because it's national radio and I would unload. I don't think they'd shut me down for it either. But I wish this was Sunday night when I do my 8 o'clock show on TalkSport because I present that show for an hour and I would get calls on about this. I would push it out there on national radio. I would do it because it has to be done. It's so important. And they wouldn't shut me down for doing it because I'm a United fan, you're United fans, Manchester United's a football club, and we're in the hands of people who put us in debt and are parasites. And now we've got somebody who wants to buy this club. The platforms are there. The platforms are there. People have mentioned Sir Alex Ferguson, Gary Neville. Everybody's got a part to play. Some big, some small, but everybody's got a part to play. Hi Mark, hypothetical. If the Glazers had fired bad directors sooner and hired experts, would we accept them, says Klaus. But it's a hypothetical, isn't it? You've just said it yourself. All I can say about that is, could the Glazers have run the club better? Could they have employed a better CEO? Could they have employed a better director of football? Yes, they could, and this is why they need to go. Because they ignored it. They can't sit there and go, oh, we're going to get a proper CEO now and a proper director of football. They've been told about it for years and they've ignored it, and they ignore it because they're not bothered. They just want money. There is no second chance. You can buy Casemiro, you can buy João Felix, you can buy Anthony. You're not having a second chance. They cannot be given another second chance. So buy those players, more fool you, because you're getting forced out, and whatever you spend now, you know, maybe they think, well, if we spend 70 million on Anthony, we'll add it onto the sale fee. You know, maybe that's their thought process. I don't know. I think all these signings is last chance saloon from the Glazers, testing the waters on social media to respond to big signings. Mohammed, you know what? Again, something else you can do on social media. Whenever you hear a transfer story from now, you know what you do in the replies. Don't care. Not bothered. You know, are you going to buy the shirts? Don't do it. Don't do it. But some people still will. Millions probably still will. If we sign Casemiro tomorrow and give him the number whatever shirt, how many is it going to sell on Saturday? You know it's going to happen, but those are the things that can really make an impact. Have you ever had thoughts of just changing your club, says Jonas? Never, never. I don't care if we're in the National League, mate. I said it when the Super League happened. I would rather be in the National League starting again than be in the Super League with the Glazers. And I would have happily done that, and I think most United fans would. Supporting a club is not about winning titles. Supporting a club is about supporting a club. This has got me more excited than anything, says Shauna. Have you ever, and also Sir Alex should support the Glazers out movement as he was partly responsible in getting them there in the first place, says Druv. Hi Mark, the stadium needs ripping down, everyone comes together, says Mr. Weston. Well, it's interesting that in this statement that's come out tonight from the Sir Jim Ratcliffe side, they're actually talking about investment in the stadium. Wouldn't you prefer a Saudi, says Danny? No, I actually, if I have a preference, and I think that there are alternatives out there, and I think there is an alternative coming out in the next few days. So the ones I know about was the consortium that Michael Knighton was talking about, where he said that they might have enough to buy the club, but they don't have any money to do anything else. I think that consortium thing's over now, because all Michael Knighton wanted was Sir Jim Ratcliffe to come anyway, and Sir Jim Ratcliffe has come. So Michael Knighton's consortium is basically over because Sir Jim Ratcliffe has now said he'll buy the club anyway. So that's probably number one. You've got an investment fund from New York, which has been rumoured for a while. So that's two. And there is a third one as well. My preferred one is the Sir Jim Ratcliffe one, because he's basically somebody who doesn't want profit, who cares about football and wants to build a football club. So that would be my number one. Don't know enough about the investment fund. And the third option, I think, is a bit risky. I don't know whether it will become public in the next couple of days, but I know there is a third option. And let's be honest, there could be 4, 5, 6, because there might be a few billionaires now going, I quite fancy it. And I think that will happen as well. So we've always wanted to be in this situation where there's people who want to buy the club. There's been times over the last 10 years where Glazers out, they're rubbish, they don't know what they're doing. And, you know, it's valid, but there's nobody to buy the club. What's happening now is, and I've never known a time like this, and I really hope, if you take one thing from this video, I've never known a time like this. The time is now. Like, this is real. Like, there are real people with billions of pounds willing to buy the football club that you would take every day of the week over the Glazers. So the time is now to do it. I hope we don't miss the boat. I really don't. And I think the fans have got a part to play in this. We may not need to play any part. In an ideal world, Sir Jim Ratcliffe's in contact with the Glazers and they're negotiating a sale right now. We may not have to do anything, but can you take that chance? What if the Glazers are saying, thanks for the inquiry, we're not for sale and we're not selling? Well, that's where the fans have to be working on stuff, because they were shitting themselves after the Super League stuff, and you know you've got to try and do it again. Carlos makes a good point. He says, second chance, what you on about? This is like the 20th chance, exactly. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, by the way. Bottom right hand corner, get involved with the United Stand. It's a big time, and it's going to be a big time over the next 2 weeks as well. So make sure you're tuning in, subscribe, bottom right hand corner, and get that message out there and be part of it. Maybe the players saying they're disappointed by the lack of signings. Eric have had their way of getting them out. You can always hope anyway, says Elliot. Really hope all this comes to something. Don't want to get hyped just to keep getting disappointed, says Deaf Boy. Well, somebody asked in the chat, and it flew by earlier on. How does an owner get forced out of its own company? What will the process be if this gets successful? Because I don't get it. You force them to sell, Recon. You put them in a situation. Basically, you've got to make them want to sell. You know, if you live in a house and you own a house and you don't want to sell it and someone wants to buy it from you, you know, what do? I mean, it wouldn't work in the modern day, but, you know, you cut the water off, you cut the electricity off, you know, you put barriers outside the house so they can't get the shop in. You know, that's a very simplistic view on how you get someone to sell a house. But how do you get someone to sell a club? You make things very difficult for them. You know, you bring the share price down. You get sponsors on at them saying, you know, we're not happy with this. You know, there's a million and one ways to do it. Now there are buyers. Can you give a prediction when there actually will be a takeover? Because I think it's a matter of time, says Nathan. Well, I can give a prediction, Nathan, but the sale of Manchester United could take a year. It could take 2 years. It could take 6 months. You know, it's not going to be done tomorrow and then we make some signings. It's short-term pain for long-term gain. Things will get things will get worse to get better. Mark, why do you think this is all blowing up now? Do you think the Glazers may have put word out that they're open to listen to offers? I'm hoping so, Mark, and I think that's probably one of the most intelligent comments of the night. Suggestions: fans should unfollow United on social media, says Sig. I wouldn't unfollow Man United on social media personally. I wouldn't do that. Sky is saying that Manchester United will go back in for Ajax forward Anthony. Yeah, this is completely, you know. Sir Jim Ratcliffe, clip this by the way. Sir Jim Ratcliffe wants to buy a stake in Manchester United with a view to taking full control of if the Glazers welcome new investment. A few minutes later, Man United are going back in for Anthony. See it for what it is, people. It's spin. The Glazers don't want to go. They know this is a threat. They know this is a viable threat, and they know you'll get behind it. They need to conquer. They need to divide. They need to stop you getting behind this. Spending 90 million on Anthony is not something they want to do. They don't want to do it, but they'll do it to stop you getting behind that. And that's what it is. Simple as. We've seen it before. Di Maria, Pogba. They'll spend the money when they're terrified. What you've got to do now is think to yourself as a United fan and make your own choice. Are you going to fall for it? Are you going to fall for an Anthony and a CASEMIRO, or both? Are you going to fall for the Glazers suddenly spending money quickly because they're desperate to cling on to this club and keep bleeding it dry for the next 10, 20 years? Or are you going to get behind this? Are you going to take the short-term pain for the long-term gain and send a message that the time to go is now? We've had enough. Do you want to wake up in the morning and realise that your club's not in debt anymore? That dividends aren't being taken out, and that you're now finally a football club that's focused in being successful on the pitch and not on the balance sheet? The time is now. The opportunity is there. It's up to you if you're going to be conned by Anthony and everybody else that they're going to go in for now because they're desperate. Get it out there. You know, you clip me up out of context enough, clip me up for that and put it out there. You know, the time is now. The time is now. Wild thought. Do you think Sir Alex does not want his legacy tarnished like he does not want his success to be overridden, says John. Welcome to the Members Club, Muyad. And we have never had a viable buyer until now. Our voices and protests are so much more powerful now. We can make them uncomfortable and they will leave, says Ian Rumba. Look, if you're protesting on Monday night, you're protesting knowing there's a viable buyer behind you. If you're not buying a shirt tonight, you know that, you know, it's not a lonely thing of not buying a shirt for yourself or your kids. You know there's a viable buyer that when these Adidas get onto United and get pissed off, it might just make a difference. You know, if you're going to go into Old Trafford or not be in Old Trafford on Monday night, and if you're going to go in with a banner or whatever and sing a song about the Glazers, then you know there is a viable buyer. Every bit of action now, and it needs to be coordinated and it needs to be unified, but every bit of action people take against the Glazers now, you know you're doing it with a viable buyer behind you. In the past, we just wanted them out and we didn't have an alternative. Now we do. That is a very, very powerful thing. To know that somebody wants to buy this football club is a very, very, very powerful thing. Now, somebody just said to me to check something on Twitter. I'm sure there's plenty of stuff on Twitter and it's going to be impossible to, you know, go for everything. But let's have a quick look. Samuel Looker says that Manchester United are not commenting on Sir Jim Ratcliffe's interest in buying the club. Feeling in recent weeks is the Glazers would have to bring in an investor or sell sooner rather than later to improve cash flow. Well, look, that takes me on to a level. Look, I used to work in finance. I used to work in investment banking before I did this for a few years, and you know, it's how you put it to people who don't really understand it. But it's actually very simple. It's like most things, like football. It's quite very, very, very simple. So what we might see happen is we may see the Glazers sell completely. Hopefully that's what we want to see. But we might see is the Glazers ask for an investor. Now, Sir Jim Ratcliffe will invest. And let's say the Glazers say they're going to sell 25% of the club to Sir Jim Ratcliffe, but that's all they're going to sell. He would invest in the club 25%. And as part of that 25%, he would say, I will invest so much money to rebuild the ground. However, in the next 2 years, I want to take total control of the club. I will take that. I will take that. What you don't want is Sir Jim Ratcliffe taking 25% of the club and then the Glazers retaining 75% for the next 20 years. That can't happen. So I think if you're going to take an the scary thing is, what if another American or another Saudi Arabian or an Australian or another, anybody, doesn't matter where they're from, actually, it's an irrelevant point. What if the Glazers find another Glazers who wants to put 25% in and bleed the club dry like they have? That's the scary thing. We have got no control. Chelsea, it was to the best bidder for what was best for the club. Manchester United, the Glazers pick the buyer. The Glazers pick the investor. They can pick whoever they bloody well like. So it's really important. It's really important that we get the right people. And we don't actually have a say in that. So how do we get a say in that? We've got to force them to sell. Mark, can you give us a summary of what is happening as of right now? Says Ty. I will do. And if the buying happened now, how long the takeover will take? Says Aimer, mate, as I said, how long's a piece of string? It could take 6 months. It could take 6 years. You just don't know. So yeah, it could take a long time. It might not. We'll have to wait and see. It might not happen at all. Instead of many individual signs that say Glazers out, it'd be better off if everyone together can spell out one big Glazers out at the stadium, possible, says Off the Grid. Look, so the summary as we get it at the moment, I'm just checking for the latest news. The summary as we have it at the moment is that Manchester United are... Manchester United, I mean, look, Malachians, Phil Brown, love him. He basically said Man United are 100% up for sale. I've not even had a chance to talk about that. Sky just put on that United have had a bid rejected by Atletico for Felix, 130 million. See, Connor, thank you very much. But, since we've been on air, we've had a bid for João Felix. We're gonna buy Casemiro, and we're back in for Anthony. That doesn't make me think that Man United are for sale. I don't think they're up for sale. I don't think the Glazers want to sell, because if the Glazers wanted to sell, I don't think they'd be buying players. They'd just be thinking, don't spend any money because it's all our profit. I think the Glazers don't want to sell, and I think they're desperately trying to buy big players to make you happy, to make you stop thinking about what it says below. So where we are at the moment is Sir Jim Ratcliffe, who is a billionaire, who tried to buy Chelsea a couple of months ago, who is a Man United fan, wants to buy a football club, is not about profit, and wants to rebuild a football club to being great again. That's what he wants to do. It's a project. He wants to do it. And he wants to buy Man United. And there's been spokesmen from his business confirming that. We have a viable buyer for Manchester United. That is the update of where we are. Now, here's a case point that you might want to be worried about. Arsenal, was it a year ago or 2 years ago? Wasn't it Spotify who wanted to buy Arsenal? And Arsenal fans got very excited about it and they wanted it to happen. And Kroenke said, no, we're not for sale. And did they get taken over by Spotify? Were Arsenal successful, or are the Kroenkes still in charge of Arsenal? So, look, this is not the end. It's a spark. You can't start a fire without a spark, but a spark is not a fire. There is a spark there. Are you going to blow it out, or are you going to help it turn into something? And that, to me, is, and many of you, is, what do we do from here? There's a protest on Monday night. There needs to be a hell of a lot more than that. But when they sign Casemiro or De Jong or Anthony or whatever they're going to do now, what happens then? Is it the end of all this? We just go back to what the Glazers want, where we just put up with it because we bought a player and you buy the shirt? Or is it the end? Or is it the end? And we make it the end. There's two options here. There's a short path where you go, yay, we've got Anthony, we're back. and you know, over the future we we come back to where we are now. Or there's the short-term path where it's going to be painful, where you go, don't give a shit who you sign, Glazers out consistently, get out of our club. We're going to really push this as far as we can to get you out. And then when they're out, they're gone. The thing is, once they're gone, they're gone. Could be like that. They're gone. But you've got to work for it. Apparently the De Jong saga has all been fake and they've known for ages and they aren't getting him, similar to what happened with Sancho in 2020, says Fame. Can you commit to going on Monday to encourage more people to go, says Asher. And Mark, we should call the campaign Enough is Enough and have someone like Mick Lynch as a spokesman, says Josh Davies. And Mark, I cannot speak for the many here at United Stand, but I'm sure we will all hear back any attempts to out the Glazers and back Man United fans' strategies and ideas, says Mo. Thank you very much for that, Mo. There is no structure at any level of the club. It's horrifying, Mark. Americans know well about the cancel culture. They should be afraid. Glazers out, says Kartik. Somebody's just checked me to tell me to check something else on Twitter, so I'm just going to check it now. I suspect I know what it is, but let's have a look. So Michael Knighton, who obviously had we did an interview with him last week, talking about Man United last week and putting a bid in and a hostile bid. He's put a tweet out saying, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, yes. This is wonderful news. I said from day one the Glazers will be gone this time, and the great Jim Ratcliffe is the man to it, and it's happened. Thank you to every fan that believed this message. Your support has been magnificent. Bravo. So I actually think that'll be the end of Michael Knighton's consortium, because he always said that it was about I mean, to be fair, whether you like the guy or not, realistically he either knew it was going to happen or it's happened because, or partly because of that. He came out and said there was going to be a hostile bid and the whole point of it was to smoke out a Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and well, it's happened anyway. Whether that was by design or luck, it's happened. So feel sorry for Ten Hag, had to deal with so much already. He will have to field all the journalist questions while the Glazers will hide, says Aram. Yeah. I mean, look, we'll be back to talking about football tomorrow. We will be back to talking about football tomorrow. There's so much I would have, tonight's show was meant to be about leaks from the dressing room, about Ten Hag's style of play. We'll talk about that in the morning. There's quite a few things about transfers and CASEMIRO and loads and loads of stuff really, but it's too important to talk about that stuff tonight. Watch how the spin hits from Friday. They will say they can sign De Jong, CASEMIRO and Caicedo just so fans don't say they Radcliffe can buy the club, says Humish. Facilitating this is going to be really hard. Imagine Ronaldo pulls a rabbit out of the hat Monday night. Timeline's going to be filled with Sue, says Blick. I think that there's a battle ahead and many battles are lost. Classic words, not my words, the words of Sting. But there is a battle ahead, and we may lose this battle, even though we finally got. I love an analogy, and I feel that we've wanted rid of the Glazers for a long time. Some people have been fighting this fight since the mid 2000s. Some people have been fighting it since 2010. Some people have been fighting it the last few years. Some people are only fighting it now. It doesn't matter. It's not about who's the bestest fan and who's been doing it for the longest. All those things you can argue about later. It's about this huge fan base we have. Do you want to fight it with a little bit, or do you want to fight it with all of it? But one thing we've never had, no matter how many of us fighting together or not, we've never had the weaponry. The Glazers have got the trying to get the Glazers out of Old Trafford is like Old Trafford being a fortress of steel, and we're banging on it with breadsticks. No matter how many millions of us there are, we've only got breadsticks, we can't climb over and we can't penetrate the Glazers' kingdom. We've never had the weaponry to do it. There may be millions of us, but we can't get in. It's encased with titanium and we've only got breadsticks. But now, with these buyers, we've got the weaponry to get in and get them out. The thing is, are we going to do it? When the Glazers stand over the top of the castle and go, "Don't fight us, we're going to throw you free money down," some people will pick the money off and walk away. Obviously, they're not going to give us free money, but they're going to give us Anthony. They're going to give us CASEMIRO. They're going to give us Milinkovic-Savic. They're going to give us João Felix. Now, we're not probably going to get all four, but they'll give as many of us as they can. And some people will go, "Oh, I'm not interested now." I'm not interested. No, you know, we're winning. We've got the players I want. I'm not bothered anymore about a new owner. And then divide and conquer starts, doesn't it? Because that's going to happen, and it's about whether you as an individual are going to fall for it again, or whether you're going to keep pushing for this change. And that's going to be the challenge. That is going to be the challenge, because they are going to do it. To which I would say this: if you do buy Anthony, and you do buy João Felix, and you do buy whoever else, why tomorrow, 2 weeks tomorrow, the transfer window closes? This transfer window's really been open since the end of May. You know, Haaland to Man City was sorted out at the end of May, as were a few other deals. May was 2.5 months ago. Let's be generous, 2 months. So for the last 2 months, you bought next to nothing. And in the last 2 weeks, you're suddenly bidding for João Felix and this, that and the other. We've lost to Brentford and Brighton. See it for what it is. If they ever really wanted João Felix or Anthony or Casemiro, they'd have got them in June. We'd have had them for Brentford and Brighton, and we wouldn't have lost 6 points. Why are they buying them now with 2 weeks to go? Why are they buying players for massive money that we've wanted all summer with 2 weeks to go? Because this person wants to buy the club, and the Glazers don't want to sell, and they need to survive. And spending £200 million now to keep the club and watch the value go up by billions is a drop in the ocean. It's a game. It's a game, and it's whether you want to fall for it. And I can't tell you not to, and you know, other people can't. It's up for you. The Glazers don't really get to pick the Premier League owners' test. Test is better now. Newcastle aside, and you can bet the Premier League will scrutinise this more than normal, as we are such a huge cash cow. That's a great point by Rory as well. The Glazers don't really get to pick who they sell to a certain extent. We've got to fight the battles that we can win, and this time round it seems we can win this as Mojo. I just hope that the fan base does unite and does work together to do big things. I hope that there are plenty of ideas that people can get involved in, and I hope that the people that have the ability to get that message out speak together and work together, because you know, I mean, look, case in point, I don't know what their stance is tonight. The Manchester United Supporters Trust have worked very hard on a vote for shares in the club from the Glazers. Will they walk away from that now and get their members to back the Glazers out movement and get Sir Jim Ratcliffe in? It's a risk when they put so much work into getting shares out of the Glazers. Will they stick with that plan and say, that's the one we've been working on? Or will they go, this is a real chance to get rid of the Glazers, let's put things in place to get rid of the Glazers? They've got to turn full circle on the plan they were doing. Interested to see what Manchester United Supporters Trust is going to do. Hopefully they're going to go, no, we're Glazers out, we're getting behind this Sir Jim Ratcliffe thing. Let's do it. That's what I want to hear. They've got, whatever you think about the Manchester United Supporters Trust, they've got a lot of members, they've got a lot of power to spread the news, and they've got a lot of ability to say, let's do this, let's do that. So look, there's loads of people. As a celebration to potential buyer off topic, you bring back Red Dead or Fall Guys for 11 p.m. This is Nathan. And Carmine, welcome to the Members Club as well. Thank you. So, everyone search Man United Takeover, says that we have been handed down the club from our fathers who weren't able to win the fight against the Glazers. However, I will not stand down and watch my kids suffer supporting this club, says Mo. Let's rejoice in this moment. Now is the time we spent together as fan base, a family together for our club. Let's do this, says TG. And I don't know what the players feeling at the moment, but what Man United needs now is a psychologist to deal with the players' mentality, says Dennis. Few people saying 1958 tweet. I mean, this is a case in point. I really wish you hadn't said it, because they've blocked me and the United Stand from day one, and they do protests, and they're doing a protest on Monday night, and I'd love to know what that tweet says, but I can't get that tweet up because they blocked us from day one. So, you know, it'd be nice if they unblocked us and we could say what their tweet was about, because as I've said, we want to unify the fan base and we want to get this community that is massive on board with anything that's going to help get the Glazers out. I don't know what that tweet says. I mean, I'll go on Twitter, I'll search the name, and I'll see if I can read it out to you. But this is part of not the problem. I'm not going to use those words, but this is part of how we can make a difference. You know, if we do know what is being said, then we can, you know, we can put that message out. I don't know what the tweet says. It doesn't say anything, says J7. Okay, so we've been scammed in the chat there, I suppose, a bit. But yeah, not 100% sure what that's all about. Yeah. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, by the way, bottom right hand corner. They blocked us from day one, mate. Apparently fan channels are part of the problem. Yeah, I don't know whether that's still the stance, but fan channels can be part of the solution, just the same as the Manchester United Supporters Trust, the Red Army, and every fan and every supporters group in India, Australia. You know, I think that's another great way that you can hit people as well. There are amazing Manchester United supporters clubs. There's loads of them in India, Australia, America, all around the world. I mean, these are people with email lists and members that you can hit and say, do this, do this, do this, do this. There's so many opportunities. Breaking news, I am now demanding a full control of the club via email message to Joel Glazer, says Rupee. And Mike Ashley wanted to sell and they were bought in a month. Same could happen with you guys if you come together and make them sell, says Nathan Allen. But you know what? As I said, Arsenal's an example of how this can fail. Spotify wanted to buy Arsenal and Kroenkes wouldn't sell. Who owns Arsenal a couple of years later? Kroenkes. So if you just think that this person wanting to buy United means it's all over, no. There's a viable owner, and it's on the fans to play their part in making it very clear that the Glazers' time is up. Now, somebody asked a question before, and I've been thinking about it all show. I looked on the Man United website, and Martial wasn't in training. Do you think he'll be available? He was in training this week, Lewis, so I think he is back. I want to buy United, says GJ. Mark, you all the platforms and the supporters club should meet, says Red. What do I think would get the Glazers out very quickly? I think if the share price plummeted, the share price is going to go up now, by the way, because of this. This is the stupid thing. Whenever there's talk of a takeover, the share price goes up, which the Glazers will love. We need the share price to come down, which is very hard when people know there's a buyer. So that's very, very difficult to do. You know, the Glazers are actually going to profit from this news. So you've got to be very, very careful, and you've got to be very, very clever on what you do to make the Glazers sell, because this news actually puts the share price up. Yeah, I think protests are very powerful. I think match day publicity is very important. What I mean by that is you've got to make the world know that, and they've got to make the Glazers know that this is going to go on and on and on and never stop. Now, if you could empty Old Trafford every game, that would send a strong message. I just don't know how you do that, and I don't know how you demand people to do it. It's very difficult. We saw we saw at the end of last season on a midweek game against Chelsea, wasn't it, on a Thursday night that no one was really interested in. People were told not to bother turning up, and to be fair, I don't think 20,000 did, but it still looks quite full with 50,000 in. So very, very difficult to do that. But you know, the social media campaigns, definitely there are definitely ways that things can be done, but it's got to be done together and not fragmented. Can we get in with the transfer news now? Boring, says Ibis. Mate, if you want transfer news, you can jog on. I'm going to use you as a sacrificial lamb. If you want to talk about transfer news, go away, because that is going to be exactly the thing that makes us fail. Because when they sign Anthony, a player I really want, by the way, when they sign Anthony, you're going to forget about tonight. In fact, you're already forgetting about tonight already. It's the case in point. People are bored of talking about the takeover now. Oh, talk to me about Milinkovic-Savic. Talk to me about Anthony. Talk to me about Joe Felix. Oh, talk to me about whether Maguire's going to get dropped on Monday. See, we're already losing. We're already losing because that you've lasted an hour before your attention span has wandered there. And the Glazers will be going, this is great. This is great. Put another bid in now for Casemiro, because if we get him, the shirt sales, the positivity, we're here for another 10 years, Joel. And that's it. This is the battle we now face. This is the battle we now face. How deep is your love? Kick in the Bee Gees. How deep is your love for Manchester United? How shallow are you as a United fan? Can you be flirted with? Can you be swayed by a few 50 million signings in the next couple of weeks, or will you stay the course and the message that the short-term pain for long-term gain, basically? That's what it's all about. Anyway, keep your questions coming in. Make sure you subscribe, by the way, bottom right-hand corner, to get involved. It's been an interesting show tonight, and I think that it's going to be very. I think it's going to be. It was always going to be very, very busy over the next a couple of weeks anyway. 2 weeks of the transfer window to go. It's going to get very, very busy, but. It's going to be very interesting to see how this story pans out now. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it when it actually came out that we had somebody, that statement, which I've kept up all night. The Agra post, it's the buyer most people want, and it's from a credible outlet with quotes. Unbelievable. What do you think of AC Milan's success after getting rid of their owners, says Ronan? Well, yeah, look, yeah, I mean, there's plenty of examples, but our success can be built by ourselves. The first step is to get those Glazers out, and I'm very, very excited to see what we can do. Just having a look if there's any updates coming in since we've been live. Pulisic on loan, Jao Felix, Casemiro. Yeah, it's not clear whether the Glazers want to sell. Back in for Anthony. The Glazers are sounding out third parties on behalf of the club as to their interest in buying a part of the Glazers' stake. My fear is that some twat will say to the Glazers, yeah, we'll buy Man United, we'll buy United, we'll buy 25% and we don't want anything in return. That's a dream for the Glazers. That's just another loan, isn't it? They keep hold of the club. We need them out. I think it's going to be very interesting next few days to see what happens next, really. The thing I can recommend for this channel is to keep uploading videos of this takeover. Don't talk about transfers. That keeps the story going, says Arjun J. Mate, I've done this before. We will be back talking about transfers tomorrow because it's a news show at 10 o'clock. And unfortunately, we're not going to get a statement from Sir Jim Ratcliffe every bloody day. But I know how to keep this going. It's just whether people stay interested in it. James, welcome to the Members Club. And, we can't not preview the game against Liverpool and stuff like that. We will still do that. And actually, the test needs to be for you, the individual. Can you keep it up? We can't keep doing the same video every day, 3 times a day for the next 2 months. But you have got to keep that fire burning if you want to. Do the Glazers own the women's team as well? Yeah, of course they do. They own Manchester United, Adam. It's just, that's what they do. I'm just trying to see if anybody's... Did anybody actually clip that bit that I did? I can't remember what I said. I want to tweet it out. And I don't know whether anybody clipped it. Oh, yeah. I've got it. I'm just going to retweet it. So there you go. There's something you can go and do. It's on Twitter now. I've just retweeted it from the United stand. And it's exactly the message that needs to go out. So if you want to retweet it, at Mark Goldbridge. And that's what we've got to do. We'll use the platform in that way. And I think it will show others how we can use this platform. The community is massive. We're approaching 1.5 million subscribers. We've got 1.3 million followers on Twitter. It's a massive, massive platform that when you retweet something or tweet something, it will hit a lot of people. And, I've just tweeted that thing on at Mark Goldbridge. Go and retweet it yourselves. And it just shows what can happen. And if Must are doing something or 58 101 blockers and want us to tweet something, we can do that. I can't retweet it when they blocked us, And you've got a protest on Monday night. Let's get it out there. You might get a few thousand people more there. All right, you might not like me because I'm from Nottingham, or I don't want Maguire to be in the team. But what does that matter in relation to getting the club sorted out? We've got to, we don't need to like each other. And actually, I don't dislike anybody anyway. But we can work together, definitely, unifying the fan base. I believe, or even if you don't want to work together, just use the bloody platform so that we can put stuff out there. I believe with staggered payments, use it like a notice board. You don't have to know who owns the notice board. Just use it as a notice board. This is happening. This is happening. Get behind this. Get behind that. Because even then it might not be enough, but at least we'll have tried. I believe with the staggered payments for players, Glazers might throw 100 million in signing 5 players for which we'll pay over the next 5 years, says Mojo. How good was the Grand Theft Auto 11 PM, says Nathan Allen. He's still talking about playing games. Dennis, legend of the chat, is just gifted 5 United Stand memberships. Thank you very much. Get your badge next to your names. And as much as signing top players is nice, it's desperation. Glazers out before anything. We have to be united on this. Get the Glazers out. We can do it, says Rob. Well, I'll make a pledge to you then. I'm going to make a pledge to you now. And let's just see how much shit I get for it. Because I know I'll get it, but I'll do it to prove to you that I will see this through to whatever end it is. If the Glazers stay, then it's not going to be on me. I'm not going to say I didn't try. So I'm going to do everything I can, and I don't think I can do a lot on my own, to get the Glazers out. So every signing we make between now and the transfer window closing, whether it's Anthony, who I want, or whether it's CASEMIRO, who I wouldn't mind, or João Felix, who I wouldn't mind, or, you know, some shit player I don't want. Every signing we make, when it's official, I will do the video and I will start off with a statement about why I want the Glazers to go and why we need to get behind Sir Jim Ratcliffe or anybody else. And then after that, we can talk about the signing. So I will do that. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to keep doing that. And I might be doing it in 3 or 4 months and everyone will be going, oh, shut up, Goldbridge. Shut up. Just let it go. But I will do it. I will do it. And let's see how many other people are still doing it and where we are. And that's my pledge. And I'll do a lot more, but I will do that. I want Anthony at Man United. We should have bloody bought him 2 months ago. I really want Anthony. I think he's a fantastic player. But when we sign Anthony, if we sign Anthony, I will spend the first part of the video on a statement of why we need to get rid of the Glazers. So Jim bid 4.25 million for Chelsea. Do you think this will be enough for the Glazers to sell? Says Dark. I think that he'll bid more because we are worth more. I think they would want around 6 for Man United. I don't think he did bid 4.25 for Chelsea anyway. Maybe he did. I don't know. Murta and Arnold did great job indirectly. Fair play, says Jay. Anyway, I'm going to stop there because... Oh, well, no, maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm not. Apparently somebody just... Bart, somebody tweets. What's that all about? Oh, no, I don't know who this is. It's a podcast for Ajax. Manchester United want to make a renewed opening offer for Anthony of 80 million euros. What, the 80 million euros they refused to pay in the first place? I mean, do they think we're stupid? We spent all of July... Look, I'll use this as part of it, right? Okay. So, if you remember at the start of June, I did a video. It was my sister's birthday, so it would have been around June the 10th. It wasn't even in the British press. It was from... it was in Brazilian... It was 1 or 2 Brazilian outlets. And I did a video saying, we're in for Anthony. It's going to hit the UK press in the next few days. It hit the UK press. We were in for Anthony. We were always quite well informed on Anthony's side that the agent and Anthony wanted to come to Man United, that Ten Hag wanted Anthony, but Ajax wouldn't sell unless it was 80 million euros. Man United walked away because it was too much money. That's the story. Anthony wanted to come to United. Ten Hag wanted him at United. He was a prime target. Ajax said they'd sell for 80 million euros. And Man United, in July, walked away and said, we're not paying that. And now, because this person wants to buy the club, the Glazers are going back in and paying 80 million euros. See it for what it is. If they weren't under pressure to sell, they wouldn't be buying Anthony. They're just doing it to try and protect themselves. It's so bloody obvious. Chelsea had to be sold. That's why they were sold. They had no choice. So if this war wasn't happening, they would have had no buyers. That's the difference, as Nathan. Make a video about how bad the Glazers are that I can share with friends and such on social media. I've just done... there's loads of it. Simon, it's basically been an hour and a half of it, to be fair. I can't believe we've been live for an hour and a half, actually. Please make sure you subscribe, bottom right hand corner, smash a like on the video. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more coming out over the next day or two, so make sure you subscribe. Let's see what happens. But ultimately, I'll say it again, as I said at the start, this is not a drill. We finally have a viable buyer for Manchester United. The Glazers do not want to sell. What are you going to do to make this person our new owner? We need to get the Glazers out. this fan base needs to work together like it has done before and make this happen. And it cannot be swayed by these late desperation signings they're going to do to try and make you calm down and ignore that. Simple as that. Miles, thank you for being a member. When's the next cooking show? Says Ronan. Got no idea, Ronan. More important things to cook. Thanks for watching. Take care. I'll see you tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock unless something happens before. So make sure you subscribe.